Hello Hambini fans and welcome to another episode of Hambini Reams. In today's episode we've got these NEPEST wheels, which I'll be honest, when I got them I thought they were going to be crap, but I got that a bit wrong. I must start this video off with a bit of a curveball. The wheels come in this wheel bag, so it's for a pair of wheels. It's especially useful if, like me, you need to go and fling your bike in the back of a car and then go off to various places. I've no idea who makes these, but I don't think they're all that cheap. And I mean, I've had Shimano ones and Campag ones, and they're no way near the quality of this one. So there we go, that's the first bit. Now let's start off with the weight. Taking the rim tape off, this is the front wheel, and that is coming in at 556 grams. Let's just zoom in on that. There we go, 555. This is the back wheel. That's 680. This, the front and back wheels rims are the same. The outside is 27 or 28 mil, something around that. And the inner is, I'd say, 20. The depth is 35, hence Maui 35. The spokes are 3.29, 3.3 mil wide, and the thickness is 1.4. This might be a little bit difficult to pick up, but these spokes are labelled ST, which is the brand Stren. That's generally considered to be a very high quality spoke. Looking at the rest of this, you've got semi-exposed nipples there, and then as we come in towards the middle, they're metal inserted on that side as well. Now, some of these spokes did have, not Stren one specifically, but there was a time a while ago where Ascent and a few others, KPS Cycling, had these spokes where they would delaminate and the end would come off. And in the case of these spokes, the carbon comes through and the metal insert goes around the outside, so that can't happen. So it's like a reverse taper. So this is the front hub. It's disc brake. It's radially laced on this side, which is the drive side, and on the other side it's cross laced. Now, front hubs, there's not usually a lot to comment on them. The disc brake fitted fine, there was no real issues without that. The thing that you kind of like notice in terms of mechanical dynamics of this, and why it's probably good for gravel, is they've moved this flange as far out as they possibly can, so there's hardly any space between the axle, or the end of your fork, and the hub. So the mounting point is as far over, so it gives you very good stiffness. I've just pulled the end cap off. In there it's standard 7075 axle. The bearings are 15267 on both sides. When I did the clock checks on them, there's absolutely nothing wrong with them. From an aerodynamic perspective, if you want the absolute nuts and aerodynamics, this would probably need to be shrouded. And I mean, some people talk about these things coming loose, but if you break it, it would have to, or if it goes loose, it would need to move about 2 or 3 millimeters at least for it to actually pop out. To be honest, and I think that's quite unlikely. Finish on here, the plating or what they've used, or anodizing I guess, is hardened, so it's hard anodizing. Some of these hubs come with what you class as sort of decorative anodizing. This isn't, this is properly hard. Rear hub, very similar kind of concept to the front hub. We've got cross lacing on the drive side and radial lacing on the non-drive side. So the braking load actually has to come through the drive side before it gets to the tyre. Again, this one has flanges that are not shrouded. So if you want, you know, ultimate aerodynamics, that's there. The free hub is a Shimano free hub. Again, this has been hardened. It's quite obvious when you put the cassette on and off that it's been hardened. There's a few small bite marks around the edges, but I generally sit in a fairly modest gear, so and I'm not putting that much power output out at the moment unless I'm on the juice. But yeah, it just works. The free hub is a DT clone, I would say. That's probably the best way to describe it. So it uses the disc style ratchet. Again, this has been hardened because I've run my Stanley knife over it. Usually they're not, but that one is. And then to get this out, you actually need a special tool, which is the DT tool, to fish that out. So that goes in, if I pull the spacer out. Some of the other hubs, like I guess the H-Works hubs, don't need that. So you can just reassemble this like that. But overall, there's no issues with it. They were 15267 bearings as well. Now, in terms of durability, these wheels have held up fairly well. You can see around the edges where I've gone and clobbered things, but on the whole, they have been pretty good. There's no delamination or anything like that. There's probably a few dings and dents if you look very carefully, but on the whole, they've been pretty much spot on. The rims are hooked, and they are tubeless compatible, so you can run them without tubes. I've used TPU inner tubes in here. I've not really had any issues. The rim tape I've used has been Continental. Again, I've not had any issues. I've been using that for years. So here's the wheel set and the bike behind me. So at the moment, I'm just generally using this to ride around sites and town and wherever I go, really. Objectively, when you like talking about wheel sets, all you really need to know is if it works, and it does work without really any issues. Now, the things that you can sort of sense while you're riding are the ratchet noise. So it's not excessive, it's not quiet, but it's a different kind of noise to poles, if that's what you're used to, because it's a disc that's going round and round. Now, I could talk about how responsive the wheels feel and all that kind of stuff, but it's basically rubbish. This set just works. I mean, it's just fairly competent. Now, when you're going sideways, you know, stuff like the lateral stiffness and stuff like that, I'm not really good enough to be able to tell the difference between one and the other than when you're going off-road, the flex sideways in the wheel. This isn't like super stiff. There is a bit of give in there, and I think that probably makes the ride quality better when you use narrower tyres. So at the moment, they are the Maxxis Rambler tyres, which are 45s, so that's more than what they recommend, but it went on without any real issues. So from that, tyre clearance, tyres, gravel use, it's not in the recommended manual, but it clearly works, and I would say it's pretty competent at doing it. Right, it is that time of the show again. It is time for PowerPoint. Let's keep this brief. Japan's favourite, the NEPEST Maui PowerPoint. By Ambini, age 5. Right, who are NEPEST? Well, they are a Chinese company based in Xiamen, and they are a relative newcomer to the industry. They came around in 2018, and this is only what I've read from their website. And for some bizarre reason, they are, well, it might not be a bizarre reason, they are extremely popular in Japan. So much so that when I phoned up my bearing chum, Kato-san, who works for Toyama, he said that his local bike club is rife with this brand of wheels. And now, to be honest, I'd never heard of them, but you know, I've known him for a long time, so there you go. For info, Toyama do make my bearings, the headsets and some of the other bottom bracket bearings, mainly because NTN decided to farm out their manufacturing, sub it out, and it's now ended up somewhere else. Majority of it, the smaller bearings, aren't in Japan anymore. This is the NEPEST website. Now, if you look at it, this is slick. Some of the sort of the fonts and things have changed from here to when I got the wheels. So now the NEPEST is a lot more prevalent. Before, well, you've seen them, they're quite small on the wheels that I got. I have to say it is very slick. As a marketing exercise, you know, you compare this to some of the other brands, I'm thinking kind of like 9 Velo. Look at the way this one's marketed. The 9 Velo is marketed purely on the engineering. I mean, that's just a different world. So this is the NEPEST website. These are all the authorized dealers just for Japan. I mean, there's just loads. And then these are the wheels that are here. So we've got the Maui wheels, 28 reviews. It's got all the sort of blurb associated with it. I mean, read from that what you will. I mean, the recommended tyre width is 25 to 34. If you go down the 25 route, you will probably get a much more aerodynamic wheel set. So I tested them with a 28. But yeah, they get 125 kilo limit and you get all this stuff with it. These are the reviews, and if you look down here, there's quite a few reviews from Japan, ironically. So I don't know why they are that popular there, but they don't look like they've been doctored in any way. They just look real. So this guy's giving it 3 out of 5. I'm not sure what he's written because I can't understand it, but if you do know what he's written, then do let me know. Right, now I was totally skeptical about this because I wasn't sure, you know, I thought they were going to be garbage. And then I looked around, look at a few of the other reviews. So Patrick Lino, he had a review of them. And this chap, so John, the Ribble cyclist, he reviewed the wheels and he thought they were good. And he did actually put a message on, I can't remember if it was Instagram or on YouTube. And he genuinely thought the wheels were good. So, you know, I don't know, a bit worried really. I thought I was going senile, but never mind. Right, show the test certificate. Let's see. So these are the test, well, this is the test certificate. Now, if you are on Patreon, you get full access to these. NEPEST asked for this one to be issued freely, so I've done it. There's various bits and pieces in here, and I'll only go through them fairly quickly. Now, because I'm on Edge, I can draw on this. This is, you know, some of the readings that you go through. So, I mean, this is a cross section of a rim, and then we've got the DTI indicators, and they're plotted on here. So that's what that is. It's basically your runouts. I mean, I've seen this is in microns, so 300 microns is 0.3 mil. It's well under 100, so you know that's all right. Spoke tensions are down here. Now, this wheel has, I think it's 14 spokes on one side and then 7 on the other. So the polar plot that you're going to get is going to be fairly jagged. So if you look carefully, when you zoom in, you can see a circle that goes round. What you want is, you want those points of the blue circle to be on the orange circle. And then you've got perfect tension. In reality, you can never get it. The one on the right, you can see that one's pretty much bang on. They're almost pretty much bang on. There's a couple of exceptions. They tend to be diagonally opposite each other, or kind of like diagonally opposite each other. So that one is higher than the kind of like average, and that one is slightly lower than the kind of like average. It's a sort of measure of how well the wheel is made. There's some other things on here. This one's quite an interesting one. This is effectively how mechanically well balanced the wheel is. So as the speed increases, so that's in radians per second, radians per, well, RPM, and yeah, I mean, you can convert that. I think, is it 10 RPMs, 1 mile per hour, maybe not wrong. Anyway, it's in RPM. What happens is you get to a certain point, like here, and then all of a sudden the vibration from the wheel increases quite rapidly, and that is because it's going out of balance, and it's considered to be a flexible rotor because it's on spokes. So that's what that is. So this may be not so useful unless you've got something to compare it to. But anyway, that's the, I think that's the front wheel. Front wheel, right, this one's the back wheel. Same kind of thing, polar plots, runouts. And then this is the hub. So the hub has various parameters in there, runouts and good stuff like that. And then you've got here, which is the vibration. So BPFO is ball pass frequency outer, BPFI is ball pass frequency, inner ball spin frequency, fundamental train frequency. If it's in this range, that's bad. So none of them are in that range, so that's all right. And then you've got your bearing fits. So all of these are good. So you've got tight and loose. It should be fairly self-explanatory. And then the aero test results are down here. So basic sweep, which is what everybody else does. I have stopped doing the on the frame test because it's kind of like not much point. It's become more difficult because back in the rim brake days, the tyres were always like 23 mil. So you had a controlled tyre. Now you've got some rims that are really, really wide and you have to change the tyre. So there's some various parameters in there. And then Dmitriev, it was on Wikipedia, but I can't find it now. Someone had actually put it in, but then they've also taken it out. So you can check that out. And that's basically the stability of the wheel. Now in this test now, it's done because it's quick. So it's just wheel in isolation. I've stopped taking the rotational drag measurements because it's, well, I don't know if it's even worth it. So anyway, I've standardized on that, and then yeah, you've got the sweep. Now the reason why this is not symmetrical across here is because on this side, or one side, you've got the disc, and the disc will invariably screw up the aerodynamics. I wouldn't read too much into here and here, or here and here, versus the mechanics of the wheel. So the mechanics of the wheel, in my view, are more important because you're not doing as high speed. So stuff like this is good for critical speed. Is good for speed wobble. So you want wheels that don't speed wobble. If you want the full breakdown of how all this works, then check out my Patreon. Just a word on contract testing. Usually, historically, it's been kept private, so you'd have to sign all sorts of NDAs and all this kind of stuff, but NEPEST won't even bother in any of that, so yeah, credit to them for that. These are the kind of like areas that are in there. And then credibility. So, you know, you've got the usual people who, you know, slag off the likes of, well, they slag anybody off really. Anyone who's not a bike engineer or anyone who doesn't have an FTP of 300. Well, I have joined the 300 FTP club now. So my power is no longer the power of a prawn. And then, yeah, the comments on the bottom. So bike reviewers typically don't review, they simply provide an advert. So that's why I've gone to this like objective testing. Right, the tidbits, the good. The price, I think they are reasonably priced. The paint job, it's got everything. So it comes with spokes, the valves, the rim tape. It's just got everything. Oh, and the bag. Let me not forget the bag, because the bag I use all the time. Customer service. Now, I did a little straw poll of this, and generally the feedback has been good. They are not that popular in the West, I'll be honest. So I asked my mate Kato-san, and he said that in Japan they were considered to be the Mutt's nuts. Very good. And then, yeah, you've got UK, EU, local dealer service. So there's a dealer in the UK for UK, and there's one in France, I think, it covers the EU. And Japan, there's like 20. 20, I think USA and Australia are to follow. And I'd certainly recommend them for gravel. There's not really too much of an issue with using them for gravel at all. Now the bad, they are relatively unknown apart from Japan. I don't know why that is, but there you go. And there's obviously always the badge snobbery. Right, questions and comments. Remember to comment below and hit like and subscribe. It does wonders for the channel. Remember to follow me on Instagram and Facebook. The website is hambini.com and it is Patreon/Hambini if you want to join that, and then look up all the test certs for the other wheels that have been on test. Right, that is it. If you did enjoy it, remember to smash that like button. If you didn't, go screw yourself. And as always, keep banging your hairdresser.